so I wrote my cheat sheet to thank people, first of all, because this show for me was very, involved a lot of people. And so normally when I do paintings, I work from photographs that I have taken, but in this show, there are 3 images that are from other people's photography off of Instagram, which I think is appropriate. That image of Ruby Bowman is taken by Ashley Childs at Texas Huntress. And the blue, no, let's see, hold on. Yeah, the blue neon Marco is taken by her on her Instagram feed, which is at CalKid. And that's the day she announced her transitioning. And then the image of my son hunting is taken by my brother Todd. So for the neon pieces, Evan Boyles is my has been my partner for 2 years. He and I have been talking about this and working on this, and so I couldn't have done it without him from start to finish, as a friend and as a craftsman. And Evan introduced me to Kirk Tunningsley, who is a glass artist, and he took my drawings of lace and free bent all of them, which was such a joy to watch. And I'm so grateful to both you guys for making the neon come together, and your son as well. And let's see, for the sewing pieces, Leslie Bonnell, I don't know if she's here or not, but she really helped me a lot with the making the trumpet binds. She and I just went to her studio for like several days and worked on those together, which was super fun. And Neutron also helped me with the pillows, and Sabrina, Undercover Upholstery, I cut this out and she stitched all of it back together. So that was major. Yeah, major. And she was such Sabrina at Undercover is just like she's a joy to work with and has a great spirit. For plastic, for the plexi pieces, Evan also introduced me to Phil Parker at Crippen Sheet Metal, and he did water jet for the lace plexiglass. And Chase at Regal Plastics was amazing, and Nick Schnitzer put a backing on this plexi, which was incredibly difficult to do, and he's amazing, and I knew when I needed this done, he was the first person I thought of. So and then Grady Roper is he lives in San Marcos, and he makes all my, what do you call them, stretchers, and stretches my work. Also, I really want to thank Chris Cook, who's my assistant, and she's been helping me for a year now, and I couldn't have done it without her. And I need to thank Nathaniel, my husband, who, like Brad, my brother, called me a couple of weeks ago, and he's like, "Has Nathaniel been helping you with this show?" And I was like, some weird part of me was just like, no! I think it's just like I've been working so hard. The last thing I want to do is say my husband helps me so much, but by golly, my husband helps me so much. And as soon as I hung up the phone, he was like, hurt. So he helps me all the time. Like, he's up in the 3rd floor of the turret, and I yell at him, and he comes down and helps me move canvases and helps me do all kinds of things all the time. That's the pain of working at home. And then, of course, Rachel and Wally. So, who have, this is my 3rd show here, and they have just been so supportive all along, and very trusting of me doing this, which it was a departure, and they've been really good sports about it. So I'm going to read this because I want to say what I want to say, and I'm not good at just not doing it this way. So this work began with my exploring the reluctance among women in the Deep South to perceive patriarchal and racial structures. I remember myself as a little girl in Mississippi, covered head to toe in lace, anticipating being fussed over and wanting to be the object. It sets up an early feeling of being doll-like and not owning one's body. And it also sets up a very pleasurable, safe existence that rewards not questioning the system. I'm interested in the way I have maintained my investment in this system, partly out of the privilege of not having to be aware of it, and partly out of a conflictual relationship to beauty as emotional safety. I started thinking about lace as a metaphor for this experience, the obfuscation of ugliness, a representation of the gentility and graciousness of the South, made possible largely by a history of graceless and dark systems. This obfuscation is highly effective in maintaining the status quo of both the oppressed and the idealized. This work is also about the portrait and my identification as a figurative painter from the South, an identity I find both rewarding and problematic. The Southern portrait is often a signifier, a status symbol, a decorative object, or a kind of pre-Instagram posting. I'm using neon, unraveling and lit, and plexiglass, crystallized and glowing, as lace. Neither bonnet nor halo, but playing with both ideas. I made large ruffled pillow paintings and stuffed figures fringed or in altar-like configurations with mirrored plexi and glitter clouds, reinterpreting the trophy room, woman as trophy, a type of padded cell of Southern culture, or church altar. I'm attempting to have a conversation with this girl I was and am, partly a confession, partly a blessing. I'm also trying to expand the portrait beyond the confines of ego and decorative object, challenging the culture of gentility and nostalgia, which is rooted in particular to the South, but whose questions of privilege and beauty as both safety and entrapment are universal. So that's that. I also wrote a little bit about this piece because I didn't want to get into like really explaining everything, but I thought I'd just give you all that general overview. But this is what I have to say about this piece. This is called Ultralight Beam. Whether one is invested in the status quo or progress, both cultural visions cause boys to suffer. We forsake their vulnerability, or we emasculate them. Being a mother of a teenage boy and watching he and his friends navigate this complex landscape, I wanted to create an altar to the boy. It is also an altar against the boy. Attempting to bind my faith in boys with my disappointment in them, and to set this maternal crossroads on the stage altar of a rap concert, which is a primary ritual. Inspired by both Van der Weyden's Descent from the Cross and Bernini's Ghent altarpiece and Ecstasy of St. Teresa, Kanye is the center as the descended Christ and the ascended dove. Kanye is both deeply problematic and unstable, and Kanye as prophet, poet. Kanye succinctly represents to me the crossroads of culture, giving us visions of the divine and visceral insights into mental illness, while also undermining this vision with his alliance to our president. Kanye, I started this before he did all that, but anyway, it just added to it. Kanye embodies roiling visions of expansiveness and small-mindedness that cannot be separated from each other, which feel similar to the roiling feelings of boys and their mothers. So,
wow.
Anyway, thank y'all for coming. Y'all have any questions?
Anybody have any questions? You can also ask her privately if you don't want to. This is a big crowd. So.
Henry, how do you feel about this piece? What are your thoughts on that? I mean, it's a lot, and Alabelle too. You're part of your mom's vision and artwork. But what's a quick little insight into you right now and seeing that?
You have a right not to answer.
Well, I mean, I was reluctant to get put in it because I'm like worshiping Kanye. But,
Yeah.
I think it turned out pretty good.
Alabelle?
What about you?
Something about this. in particular?
Just you're the children.
Or the ones you're in.
Aren't you the one in there?
Two. There's two of Alabelle on the windows.
I mean, what I originally thought was like interesting about this was like, which Henry and I have argued about a lot, is just the idea of like young boys and who they worship and the kind of music they listen to and the kind of like words that they're using, repeating, and like writing their own rap songs and like repeating the kind of language that Kanye is using and like other rappers, but not really knowing like where it comes from or what it means. So that's like.
Good job.
Any other questions? Yes.
I had a comment, Elizabeth, lace, and knowing that lace was going to be a motif.
Mm-hmm.
I was experiencing it as a set of perforations that both exposed and kind of semi
Exactly.
showed something.
Exactly.
Okay, great.
Exactly.
Good.
Yes.
Yes.
How different was it for you painting from someone else's photograph than one that you take a photograph and that you want to paint?
It really, honestly, doesn't feel different at all to me. I mean,
Because I know how much of that process is yours because I love going through all your
yes,
photographs.
yes,
Because you take a lot of
You
photographs.
take a lot of them.
yes.
You do
I
composites.
take a lot of photographs and I do composites.
Would you repeat the question? We couldn't quite hear it. It
She
sounded
wanted
great.
she wanted to know like what if it felt different to like say work from Ashley's photograph, right, as opposed to my own. I actually did several paintings for the neon paintings, several, and so when that image came up on Instagram, I don't know, it was just one of those. It struck me, and I just put that in the lineup, and I painted until I felt like I had something worthy of Kirk's neon, basically, and it just took several tries, but it didn't felt more maybe visceral in a way, a little more less thought out, less less processy kind of.
But you knew all the people really well, that they were pictures of.
Sure. And Ruby is, I mean, she's an excellent example of a girl Alabelle's age that I admire and who's, doesn't really, I don't think, have this experience. So that's good. Yes.
For those of us who are unfortunately not as steeped in your work, the history of your work, can you explain briefly how this is a departure from what you've done before?
Oh, well, I mean, in the past, I've been doing figurative paintings on canvas, and I've never taken the canvas off the stretcher before. I like the process of it matching the feelings of it. So if this whole show is about nostalgia for me, I really like that it ends up being about me learning to sew in 9th grade and making all my prom dresses and going on every Saturday to old ladies in my church's house and learning all those things. And
That's what they do in Mississippi.
that's what we do in Mississippi. and the ruffles and and the curtains in my house and just I love that it all. And like I think in some ways I was afraid to own that a little bit. And so I think I was trying to step away from it, so it feels really delightful to step into all of those things that I was as a little girl and kind of just really celebrate them, and it felt joyous, and so that was nice. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you all for
Thanks for
coming.
coming.
Enjoy the rest of the evening.